Hi, everyone. We are so glad to welcome you to the third webinar, which results from a joint effort between ENLIGHT and RISE and Arqus Alliance Open Science Ambassador. I'm Michaela Aguiar. I'm a researcher at University of Minho, and I'm also part of the Arqus Alliance as an Open Science Ambassador. So these webinars take place approximately every 2 months. You can already see the next one that will be happening on the 10th of June. And will be about the Agape, a community dedicated to promoting open science among students and early career researchers. So you can find all of this information in the archives of the previous webinars at the link. Maybe we can share the link for the pad so everyone can see. Myself, as a researcher in the field of linguistics, I've had the opportunity to work on the development of software resources and digital resources. And along the way, I've also find myself pondering these questions that are related to today's topic, like how can I share these resources that we are developing in line with open science? What do those software licenses mean? So maybe you've also pondered these questions, and that's why we set up the Mentimeter. Maybe here, I don't know if all of you have answered, but could I share the results? Or what do you think, Inga?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
And
okay.
Yeah, I think for the first questions.
Let us see. Okay, so here the pads where you can see the other webinars. Okay, so for the results, we have some answers. So the first question was, what's your main motivation for attending today's webinar? So we have here researchers. Of course, you are interested in the topic, you want to learn more about licenses, the opportunities, the pitfalls. We have here, I'm a user of free software and open source, a user of Linux, okay? And you try to use open source with your students. So that's great. Let's see, how familiar are you with the concept of open software licenses? So we have one person that's very familiar, but most of all of us are somehow familiar, or maybe not familiar at all. And let's see, have you used software with the open license yet? So yes, and maybe, I'm not sure. That's probably the case for most of us, that we are actually using open license softwares and we don't know it. Okay, should we move to the presentation?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, let me just allow me to introduce today's webinar speaker, Pablo Garcia. Pablo Garcia holds the position of Professor of Computer Science at the University of Granada, where he also serves as the current director of the Free Software Office under the Vice Directorate of Digital Transformation. He has a really strong research background. Pablo has participated in 19 research projects, has authored over 100 scientific papers. His areas of expertise encompass service-oriented computing, evolutionary computing, computational intelligence in video games, and distributed algorithms, free software, and open science. He is also, like myself, a member of the Arqus Alliance Open Science Ambassadors. So I'm giving the stage to you, Pablo. Let me just stop sharing.
Okay. So everybody can see my screen.
Yes.
Perfect. So thank you for your presentation. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. This presentation entitled Open Source Software and Open Licenses, a Practical Approach. I thought to change the name to License, or how I learned to stop worrying and love the code, you know, like the Stanley Kubrick movie. Well, before starting, I would like to, well, you already presented me, but I always love to put this slide in all my presentations. Well, besides the stuff you said about me, well, I use Twitter. My handle is @Fergunet, but I also use Mastodon. That is a Fediverse social network. Means it's based in free and libre open source software, and it's not belonging to one company that can control the state. Everybody can open an instance of Mastodon and start communicating. As you said, I'm the head of the office for free software at the University of Granada, and our mission is to provide consultancy and teaching and other open source free software related stuff to the academic community of the university. We also, for example, organize a campus for children from 7 to 14 years to teach them computational thinking, robotics, and that using free software. And also we organized the technological campus for girls in July to make to reduce the digital the gender gap in STEM courses. Besides all the computer science thing, I also like the photography, the cinema, and urban sketching. That means drawing in the street. Okay, what am I going to talk in this presentation? Well, the talk about licenses, I'm going to talk about licenses, obviously. But the first question we have to make is how to choose a license. Which one is better suited for my needs? But when I choose that license, how to apply, how to use it? Should I write something? Should I sign something? And what should I do? Where to share? Where to release my data? Where to release my software? Where to release my images? Are the licenses the same for images or software, or are they different? How they work? But also an important question I always receive in my office is how to combine licenses. I have this license and this part has another license. Can I combine both to create a new project? Are they compatible? We'll talk about that. And probably you are hearing me saying sometimes open source and sometimes free software are the same. Well, there is a concept called floss. Floss doesn't mean flossing your teeth with the thread, you know, but also it's an acronym for free, libre, open source software. You realize the L is libre in Spanish. Libre means free, but free as in freedom. So it's because when you hear free software, you think it's software that is free, that you have to that you don't have to pay for the software because it's free. But it's not free as a beer. It's free as a bird. And they added the L, the libre, to clarify that. So, but are different? Well, we'll see in this presentation. When you use one or another, are different things. They collaborate. One is more philosophical, ethical approach, while the other is a more practical. Okay, probably you know a lot about free, libre, open source software. Do you know? You mentioned it before. Linux, for example, one of the questions mentioned Linux, for example. Which free software do you know? You want to put in the chat. Usually I make this presentation in a classroom full of people, so usually people answer, but I know that in a webinar it's more complicated. So there's one person in the chat. GPL. No, I mean software, not licenses. LibreOffice, for example. I mean, know when I hear the name, exactly. Probably you are using a lot of free software right now and you don't realize. Octave, Inkscape, for example. Yeah, very Mozilla. Exactly. Zoom, I won't say Zoom is free software. I don't know. I should check it, but I'm not sure. But I won't say. Maybe I think Zoom is proprietary software. Okay, Ubuntu, for example, too. Yeah, you know a lot of examples. Great, great. Okay, so for example, Linux. Ubuntu is a distribution of Linux. Linux is an operating system completely free. It's that it's used in a lot of in a lot of servers right now. Right now, Linux is the operating system for almost all the servers in the world. When you are entering a web page, there is a chance that an 80% of chance that it's being run in a Linux server using a program, a web server called Apache or Nginx, that they are also free software. So mostly Apache and Nginx, they share the 80% of web servers in the world. So there is a very high chance you are using free software without knowing. Every time you enter in a web page, you are using free software. Okay, Android, Android in your phones. The core of Android is based on Linux, that is also free. The Mozilla is another example of browser that you are using. MySQL or MariaDB are databases. The GIMP is like a Photoshop, but free. Moodle, your university use Moodle for the virtual campus. You are using a free software framework. LibreOffice, you also mentioned it. Or for example, Blender. Blender is a 3D creation engine that is very used in the video game industry or even in the special effects industry in cinema. But there are also free, libre, open source software in science. If you are used to machine learning, probably you use Weka or maybe TensorFlow or PyTorch. Mostly of all the people in that research in artificial intelligence are using Python, that is based in open source software, or using R. There is a lot of libraries for distributed computing. Octave, as you also mentioned in the chat. I mean, there is a lot of free software using in science. But why should use or even develop free software in academia? Well, our objective in academia is to share. Our mission with the society is to share our knowledge. Our job here is to create, to enlighten the society. In fact, university means universality, and the science means to illuminate. So it's very related to our jobs. Okay, we need this is our ethical responsibility as scientists to do that. Using free software, we can gain more independence. We are using, for example, in the future, maybe the company that is developing Zoom goes to bankruptcy, we won't have Zoom anymore. But if the company that develops Moodle goes to bankruptcy, we still have the code to continue working on it. We can contribute to Moodle. We can work on Moodle even if the company that develops stops working on it. So we will have the medium to continue working on it. It also implies other advantages like learning. If we have access to the source code, me as a computer scientist or computer developer, we can see how other people have programmed this software, and we can learn by seeing the code. It also allows some savings. Sometimes we can use community versions like the Moodle. I can download Moodle for free and set up in my computer in the server in my university and start using Moodle without paying a company. But as I said before, free software, free as a beer, as a bird, not as a beer. We can also pay the Moodle company to help us. So the Moodle company is still earning money. And because they're using open formats, they're based on standards. For example, do you know that the Microsoft Word documents, they are not following a standard? They call them open. They call them open XML format is the name on the paper, but they have several parts in every Word document that they are kept secret. They are encrypted, and we don't know what is going on in that documents. So this is related with security. If we have access to the code, we can see what's going on our systems, on our software. For example, a couple of weeks ago, there was a huge mess because somebody tried to put in a very important program to communicate computers between them. They tried to put a vulnerability on purpose to spy everyone that was using this software, but because the source was opened, another researchers realized, hey, there is a vulnerability here, and they could revert to the safer version. Okay, and what is the relation with open science? This is the Open Science Cosmos that we published in the Arqus Alliance Open Science Position paper. Open science is usually, when I say open science, people only think in open access. That means putting your papers open to the public. But open science is more than that. It deals with the governance of the universities, sharing the data, the infrastructures, the methods that includes the source, the software code of the algorithms we develop. The open science also deals with citizen science, allowing people to work in our research, also open education, sharing training materials, even open the evaluation. For example, putting the reviews you receive in a paper, open it, you can see how the paper changed a long time, and you can agree or disagree with the reviews. Or even the evaluation, when you apply for a position in a university, the evaluation of the people should be opened to avoid some favors, so like I'm choosing you because you are my cousin or something like that. I want to say that open science is a very big cosmos, and it's not only related with publications, but a lot of elements that interactuate. Okay, so I always tell my students, we heard that releasing in the academia is the ethical thing, we want to share and that. But I always tell my students, they are going to be developers, why to release their work? Well, it generates a good development practice. There's a lot of libraries to allow you to share the code, to make beautiful code that works in different environments. Because if your code is going to be used by a lot of people, you have to program better than if you are going to program for your computer. It builds community too. For example, people in my university usually gather together to work in an open source project. They make friends. They later, after programming, they go for a pizza or something like that. It means that people usually gather and share this passion and tries to reach more people. It also generates example, as we are said before, we are university, our mission is that. But the most useful thing I told my student is it serves as a portfolio. You release or your programs that you are doing with your friends to learn, or your assignments. Companies will see your portfolio. If you are an artist, you want to share your photos to get more recognition. So companies are starting to look for your GitHub account to see your software. So people will contact you even before you apply for a position in a company. They will contact you if they see your code. I always tell my colleagues that works in companies, they usually tells me that they don't look at the grades, but they look at outside things. For this student makes a program with his friends outside the assignments. So I see these people, this person likes challenge, and they want to do some other stuff. Okay. But if we want to release, and this is the first question I got, it's how to release. What the concept release is to put in your source code, your data, your whatever, available for public. But how to do it? First of all, we have to choose an adequate license. There is a lot of licenses. I'm going to show you some of the licenses available, and we have to choose the most adequate to my needs. It depends. I want to, or people use it for free. I want a license. If you use it, you have to pay me. There's a lot of options I can choose. But the thing is, when you want to release, you need to use a Forge. A Forge is a web page where you upload your source code, and it's available to everybody. The most famous one is github.com. Almost all computer science people use github.com to share their programs, the source, the data sets, because it's very easy to use, and it becomes the Facebook of programmers. You can use your own fork. You don't want to put your code in GitHub because it's owned by Microsoft and it's using it to train the artificial intelligence models. You can create your own fork. There is for example, different universities have their own fork, and you can set up in a server in university and release there. You can also be you need to know that there is several pages like software heritage that are tracking all the available forges in case one of these forges are closed because funding or something. So to keep an archive of existing software, because in future it will be useful. And I mentioned GitHub. GitHub is a web page, but the program to interact with GitHub is called Git. Git is a software to manage the source code versions, and you can use with or without GitHub. They are different. We say Git is the program that you use to keep track, and you can upload these tracks to the forge called GitHub. They are different. Git is different than GitHub. Okay. Okay, but should I care about licenses or not? Well, what are the licenses? Licenses are, you think of the license as licenses as a contract. You can create your own license. You can open a document, license called Pablo license. This license allows you to use my code. You can write anything you want. You can set dates, expiration, territories to use. You know, for example, when you install a program, install Windows or Office, you usually see a contract. Please accept the license. Remember that when you're installing something, and you always click yes, 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 next, next, next. Sometimes these licenses, there are no open licenses, are software licenses. They're not open because, for example, this license says that you cannot use this software in Cuba, for example, or in North Korea. Did you know that you cannot use Windows in Cuba? If you go with your laptop to Cuba, you cannot use Windows there because you accepted the licenses saying that you won't use Windows in Cuba. But I don't know, because they are Americans, they don't want to use there. I don't know. You know that when you install Photoshop, the license says if you are using this software, you cannot make you cannot demand Adobe because you're using this. So you have a problem with the software and it broke something or deletes your work or that. The license says if you are using this, you cannot demand us. Okay, so there's no. That's why I see there are no open licenses because they have these small issues there. And what about if you found something in the internet without licenses? If I found an image on Google, this is free. It's because it's in the internet without licenses. That means it's free. On the contrary, any document, any data, any photo, any source code without license, by default, all rights are reserved, even if you don't know the people who created it. That's the law. It's the law in all countries. You cannot use a photo in the internet. For example, look at this photo. It's a Hawaii. You see McLovin in driver's license. It's from a movie. When I found this photo, they had a license by Bobo Usala on Flickr, CC by NC. So I found this photo in a Flickr account of a guy called Bobo Usala, and he allowed me to use this image. I don't know if this image was used by him or not. Probably not, because I saw this image in a movie. But if you have any problem, here Bobo Usala is the one that gave me permission. Okay. It's important to mention also that the licenses usually protects the specific code. So you cannot patent an idea. For example, I'm going to make an algorithm to create images and that. This is my code. You cannot use my code. Okay, I cannot use your code if you don't give me permission. But the idea of using this algorithm is not restricted. It's like a recipe. This is my text, writing a recipe, how to make a tortilla of patatas, a potato omelette in Spanish. This is my recipe. You cannot copy my text, but you can create your own recipe of Spanish omelette, changing the text, okay? There are a lot of licenses available to the public. Probably you mentioned someone, the GPL is one of the most famous licenses up there. But there are a lot, there are hundreds. This is a small example of licenses I know and I usually use. For example, the GPL, the Apache, the AGPL, Creative Commons, Eclipse Foundation. And I found the last one. Do you see this one like W? I told you that you can write your own license. So some person create this W license called, I have to ask permission to say, the license is do whatever the F, you know what the F means, do whatever the F you want with this. Is the name of the license. The text is put in the next to the do whatever the F you want license. And some people are using it. It's the you ask a lawyer, you will say, okay, you have permission to do whatever the F you want. So there are some examples. Okay, how to choose one of them? Which one should I choose? Well, depends on the community. First, if you are a developer, you are working with Apache products, well, they make you to use the Apache license. If you are developing with JavaScript or creating NPM packages, they make you to use the MIT or ISC license. If you are working with Rust to create crates in Rust, the packages in Rust, you should use MIT and Apache. If you are using WordPress, you should use GNU, GPL, okay? So it depends on the community you are developing for. But also depends on the type to share. If you are going to share software, it's different that you are going to use to share data, because if when you share the document, the document, you see the image, you see the data set, but if you share software, this software is going to be executed. So it's not only going to be seen, but it's going to be executed. That's the reason they have to be different license for one type or the other. If you are going to share photos and data, media, sounds, video, text, you should use Creative Commons, the most extended license. Probably you heard about it. Wikipedia use Creative Commons licenses to share all the information and the photos. It depends on, you can choose even more particular sub-licenses. For example, if I want, in my case, I have all my photos in Flickr with a license CC by SA, share alike. That means that if you want to use one of my photos, you can use my photo, you put in your book, in a t-shirt, a poster, whatever. But the condition is you have to cite me by, you see the by here, you have to cite me, you put a text, photo by Pablo Garcia, and share alike means that the derived work created, it needs to have the same license. For example, if you create a photo and use a sky from my photo, and you put in your photo my sky, your photo should be also by SA. It's like a virus, you know.